We got to get this thing going. That's the way you start a show. You got to get pumped up, people. Like, I'm excited. I'm ready to do this tonight. I missed you guys last week. I'm actually feeling better, but as you guys all know, my son is not feeling very good. So just a really quick admin note for everybody. You know, if my son is in the other room, he's not feeling good, and if something comes up, you know, he gets in these little cough fits and stuff like that. So I may need to go, you know, take care of him. So if that's the case, you know, I'll just let you guys chat it up or whatever for a little bit, and then you know, I'll go check on him if I need to. And if it gets serious or whatever, and I really need to take care of him, then I'll just, you know, I'll cut the feed, and we'll do this another time, folks. You know, we all got families. They're obviously a priority, so we just need to take care of them. Let me see if I can get the chat up here. It's not coming up. There it is. So I guess maybe you guys saw me pouring the beer and kind of in the intro. This is a kind of a beer from Three Rivers Brewery. It's kind of a seasonal one they do. It's called Slayer Santa. And we got this as a Christmas gift from some good friends of my wife and I's. And she might be upset because we haven't opened it. And I opened it tonight. So she might be mad at me and might jump in the room and bash me for it. But we got this beer from some good friends of ours, Justin and Jessica Cam from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Some really good friends of ours down there. And Justin owns a tattoo shop called Ace's Tattoo. So if you're from Albuquerque or been in that area, and you want to go by Aces and say hi to Justin, please do, and tell him I said hi. And thank you for the beer, Justin. But anyway, they don't watch this show, but by off chance they do, we like to plug their tattoo shop. So anyway, so cheers to all you. I hope you got your beverage of choice. So cheers to all of you in the chat room that are watching tonight. Oh, that's good. Thank you, guys. Very good. So just want to really quick say hi to a few people in the room. I didn't catch, I think it was Rob G. I have to admit, it might have been the front running bastard because he was actually in the pre, you know, live event where you can chat in there before the show comes on. So Rob G, he was probably the first one in. We've got Indulgence in here, Jimmy Fast, Anagram. Hey, Anagram, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you in there. Michael O'Connell, Joe Monday. Hey, Joe, good to see you in here. Jimmy Fast, as always. Joel Lewicki. Joel, as you can see, I'm growing my beard out. I got a little jealous. Your beard's looking good. I saw it the other night, so I had to start growing mine out. I got to catch up with you, brother. I'm going to have a little bit more gray in mine than yours, but yeah, you like Thunderstruck, huh? Yeah, AC/DC, man. AC/DC always gets me fired up. There's some great songs from AC/DC. Davio, my brother from another mother out there in California. Good to see you. Copper Dan, how are you? Totally Not Mitzi. Hey, Mitzi, how are you? Yeah, rock on, right? I love it. We the Generation. There's David. Hey, David, that's my search partner. For those you don't know, he's actually, We the Generation is his son David's band's name that he's in. He's the bass player in that. I'll be plugging some of his music tonight at the outro tonight. So, David, beware of that. Good to see you in here, David. I know it's late where you're at. He's out there in Florida, so it's midnight there. Glenna Friedman, how are you? That's a new name I haven't seen. Treasure Getter, how are you? Zozo Rocks. Lori James, how are you? That is not good for insomnia, right? Is that really going to wake you up or put you to sleep? You don't like, I didn't see what you were talking about there. I'm just saying hi to everybody. I'm not even saying paying attention to what you guys are saying. Mo Elliott, that's a new name I haven't seen. Yeah, I got Sasha. Hey, Sasha, how are you? Poem czars, you like that, right? Yeah, I'm not map czars or coin czars, or I'm poem czars. I'm the poem purist, right? The evil poem purist. So I'm poem czars. Cheers for noticing. Mark Brown. Mark, where's your home at? We want to look below it. Anyway, guys, there's a lot to discuss tonight. Again, Fennsomnia is really just it's kind of a show I created a few months ago to really, for those of you that you're up late at night, you can't sleep, and you got Fenn on the brain. This is the show. I always talk about that the flip side is the non-PC beer drinking, thrill of the chase talking show. So, this is for you guys that can't sleep at night. You're looking to get your fin fix, so to speak, and this is it. We just come in here, we bullshit about whatever. Sometimes I've got topics I want to talk about. Sometimes I just go off the fly and we go with the chat room. I got a few things I personally would like to talk about tonight. And then we'll just kind of go with the chat room and see where you guys go. I'm really bad about paying attention to you guys. Like, honestly, I just go off on my rants, you guys know, and I kind of ignore you guys. But if there's anything that really you want to mention or highlight or talk about, just put that little @ the flip side, and hopefully I'll see it. If not, David will be, messaging me, or Sasha messaging me on Facebook or something and say, look, you're missing this good question or something. Somebody help me out. I'm old. I'm almost 50, guys. I swore. Oh my God. Look out, Zozo. Non-PC beer drinking. There's going to be some beer drinking in here. There's going to be a few colorful metaphors that are going to fly in this one. 1,000-yard poem stare. Poem stare? Is that stare or stare? Jeez. We can get it a wordsmith here. But some of the things I just really want to touch on tonight is I want to talk a little bit about the structure of the poem. And this kind of really relates around, what Minotaur Marino went to talking about in, his whole thing he did with Cave Pro and Calazar. So it will touch on that. I want to talk about buried versus not buried, and why I think Forrest Fenn really doesn't want to talk about that. I had some people mention to me on Facebook that they wanted me to talk about, what type of land could the treasure be on, that too. And I've also had, several people message me and email me about, some kind of annual update. I'm not prepared to do some kind of annual update. I think it's a great idea, as far as a year in review for the Fenn treasure hunt. I think it's a great idea. I'm not prepared to do something like that. I mean, I could probably talk off the cuff on all the kind of bullshit that, that's happened this year, but I think, if we're going to do something like that, then it ought to be a little bit more official and just that and put it out. But great idea. I'm not prepared to do something like that. Kind of similar to like the weekend update, but, kind of an annual update. I think it's a great idea. Not my idea, but hey, cool idea. If you want me to run with it, let me know. Send me a message. Several people have, but I think it's a cool idea. Jimmy Fast. I want to know if Fenn has dementia. I don't know. I don't care to even go down that road, folks. Again, I don't bow down at the altar of Fenn, but at the same time, I don't want to go down those kind of things. That's not stuff that's really my thing. So what are you guys talking about here? So yeah, I want to talk about structure of the poem. I want to talk about buried versus not buried. What type of land is it on, and then just kind of go with whatever you guys want to go. Again, this show is not tailored to be 1 hour, to be 30 minutes, to be 2 hours. It just goes. And when I decide to quit it, I decide to quit it. So you guys know that. No structure. I just go. Just talk about whatever I want to talk about. So structure of the poem. Now, David, who you all know is my search partner, DeCall and I did a video back on the 5th of July, with the kind of the after party thing. And we decided not to do one on the 4th, but we did one on the 5th of July, and it was called the structure of Forrest Fenn's poem. And you can find it under the channel. It's under, I believe it's under the playlist of, thoughts from a poem purist or whatever. It's in there somewhere. If it's not, let me know and I'll make sure it's up there. Again, I made some changes to the channel. Y'all know about that. So, but we talked about it, really centered around that one quote from Forrest where he said, to answer some questions and save others from being asked, I did follow the clues in the poem when I hid the treasure, although I hid the treasure before the poem was completed. And, that really makes you believe that, there were parts of the poem that he had already, whether it be in his mind or written down, prior to going to hide the treasure. And then that makes you believe that there were parts of the poem that were written after he returned from hiding the treasure. And that was really the whole, basis of that whole discussion. You can go back and watch that one, but I'm going to touch on that tonight. So he had said, and this, and there was a weekly words that actually came out on Jenny Kyle's site, which is, Mysterious Writings. And most of you, if you're watching this tonight, you guys know what Mysterious Writings is. But there was a weekly word that came out October 14th, 2016. And that weekly word was, I could have written the poem before I hid the treasure chest, but I didn't. Okay, so he's kind of saying the same thing. And then in the periodic words, which came out about 7 months later, June 5th of 2017, were, to answer some questions and save others from being asked, I did follow the clues in the poem when I hid the treasure chest, or when I hid the treasure, although I hid it before the poem was complete. And then he put in parentheses, completed. So to me, he's alluding to the fact that, there were parts of the poem that he had already had figured out or written down, prior to hiding the treasure. And then there were some parts of the poem that he got by one beer, guys, this is it, that he wrote after he hid the treasure. So it makes you wonder, okay, what were those parts of the poem? And I've just got some notes here, and I want to keep my train of thought going here. But it really lends to the tense nature of certain stanzas in the poem. We all know, and Forrest Fenn has told us, that the first clue is begin at where warm waters fall. So what does the first stanza tell us? Well, to me, that first line in the poem where he says, as I have gone alone in there. So to me, because of that tense nature, he's saying, as I have gone, meaning he's already gone. He's already done it. So that means it's something that he wrote after he came back. So there's some tense natures in there. Okay, so you've got that tense nature of the first stanza. And then you also have in the fifth stanza where it says, so why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? Again, the question. Again, it's like he's writing that just prior to going, or as he is going. So you have, as I have gone, and then you have the fifth stanza, so why is it I must go? And then you have the sixth stanza where he says, so hear me all. And if you understand why the discourse marker so is used at the beginning of a sentence, it's generally used for a couple of reasons. It's used for the reason of, talking about information that is previously known between, either the listener and the speaker, or the person who's writing it and the person who's reading it. Now, obviously, we're reading the poem, so he's assuming that we already have knowledge of what he's talking about. Whether you want to think that's the backstory or the book or anything else, he's saying, so why is it I must go? Or, so hear me all and listen good. But so is also used as a way to conclude, a statement, or to give a conclusion. So at the very end of the poem, he's saying, so what, so hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood. So you've got, to me, you've got some tense nature, and this was really the whole, portion, or the whole discussion, between David DeCall and I about the structure of the poem, was that, we were really under the belief that, stanzas 1, 5, and 6 were, those things that he wrote after he returned from hiding the treasure. So that really leads us to believe that stanzas 2, 3, and 4 were those clues that he already had, in his mind, or he had physically written down. I mean, these in fact may have been the clues that Douglas Preston had seen in the original version of the poem in Forrest Fenn's vault back in the 90s, that he speaks about in the foreword to Once Upon a While, right? I mean, this was the original version that he thought might have been too easy. They'd figure out, and Forrest Fenn assured him that, you know, it might take people 900 years to figure it out. You know, so that kind of leads to the structure of the poem. You know, you have those past tense things that he might have written after he hid the treasure, and those things that he had prior to. And you know, again, I'm a 9 clues, 9 sentences guy. You know, I still think that that first, fifth, and sixth stanza are still clues. There's still sentences in them. They can still be clues. They can still contain, you know, vital information or information that will help you either point you towards the treasure or help you, you know, narrow it down in other ways that I don't want to go into too much detail. And again, guys, I don't talk about my interpretation of the clues. I talk about methodology and things around it, because I don't really want to muddy the waters. And again, you guys are all obviously people that have been around this for a while, so you understand that these are all just my opinions. I mean, I don't have the treasure just as anyone else here in the chat room, I don't think, has the treasure. But anyway, cheers. I get on a ramble. I want Sean's shirt and plastic bag he asked for, a friend. I want my shirt. Why do you want my shirt, Jimmy? You could just get a piece of painter's tape and you could write that on there and put it. You can do whatever you want. I'm not kidding. Is everything for sale? Did you see my? Yeah, right here, guys. I'm selling my own map, $22. It's $500 for shipping and handling, but you know, you can have my map for $22. Sasha, be nice, guys. I don't even have the subscribers to monetize. I don't even care about that crap. And even if I did, I don't think I'm ever going to monetize. This is not something I do. So again, guys, like I said, I'm everybody knows I'm a 9 clues, 9 sentences kind of guy. And you know, there's just a couple of quotes that I wrote down here that I want to talk about. And one of them was a Q&A from you know, June 28th of 2014. This was a Q&A that you can find on Mysterious Rhymes, and it was from Halo Getter. And Halo Getter asked, did you intend for there to be 9 clues, or did it work out to be just right with 9? And Forrest Fenn responded, nice thinking, Halo. I didn't count the clues until the poem had been finalized. Although I changed it a few times over the months, I think the number stayed about the same. So, you know, he says, I did follow the clues in the poem when I hid the treasure, but although I hid the treasure before the poem was complete. So, you know, there's a lot of people that believe the 9 clues rest, you know, between the words begin and go in peace or cease or whatever. And who's to say that that is wrong? I mean, not me. I mean, I'm of the belief that they are the 9 sentences, but that doesn't mean it's right. It's just the way I look at things, and I'll kind of tie that in together. But, you know, Forrest Fenn said that he didn't count the clues until the poem had been finalized. And again, he's saying that, you know, he hid the treasure before the poem was complete. So, you know, again, he's not counting the clues until the whole thing is done. Now, again, guys, I've said this many times. I guess it really doesn't matter whether you think, you know, the 9 clues are the 9 sentences, or the 9 clues, you know, rest between the words begin and cease, or, you know, or there's 50 million hints in the poem, or whatever. It really doesn't matter if you can just, you know, understand what the poem is telling you and circumstance your way to the treasure. It really doesn't matter. And I think somebody had said it in one of my videos from before, you know, are you going to be upset, you know, that when this thing is found, the person that finds it says you couldn't find it without? But no, I'm not going to be upset if that person said they had to have the book. You know, who am I to judge that person? Again, it really doesn't matter whether you think there's 9 clues or the 9 sentences, or there's 9 clues just between, you know, those stanzas 2, 3, and 4. It really doesn't matter if we can just figure out what the poem means. But it makes you ponder. Honestly, it makes me ponder, why does he say, so I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that, if followed precisely, will lead to the end of my rainbow and the treasure? Why does he even tell us 9 clues? What's the importance of that? Is that a subtle hint? You know, I mean, my confirmation bias tends to make me believe that is, but again, that's just my confirmation bias, because I'm a poem purist. Cheers. I know I'm completely ignoring you guys over there. I just want to get through this. Now, another quote, and this ties into where I'm going with this, but it came from this year, and it was August 13th of 2018, and it was from a person or a searcher named Tyler, and you can find this on Mysterious Writings. Again, it's from August 13th of 2018. He said, "Dear Mr. Fenn, once you hid the treasure, did you take the exact same route in reverse to return to your car?" So he's asking, Forrest Fenn, did you take, or, once you hid the treasure, did you take the exact same route in reverse to your car? And Forrest Fenn said, "Yes, I did, Tyler. It was the most direct route." So when I read that, and again, these are after the fact comments, and I'm a poem purist, everybody knows, and they're going to fry me for talking about after the fact comments. Again, I've told you guys, I have the belief and faith that all the information I need, to find the treasures in the poem. That's me as a poem purist. I believe that. But I use any kind of comments, anything, outside of that poem as kind of a balance, a check and balance. It's no different than the 5,000 to 10,200 foot. If you're where you believe the treasure is doesn't rest within those things, then you're wrong. So I use these things as checks and balances just to kind of make sure that David and I are on the right track here. But he's saying here that he did take the exact same route. Now, if Forrest Fenn is saying, as he did in one of these previous quotes, that he did follow the clues in the poem when he hid the treasure, but although he hid the treasure before the poem was complete, and we know, based on the fact of the past tense nature of some of those clues, that the directional clues may be in 2, 3, and 4, then we know that the path that he took both times, or we could say, 4 times, because he, went in there with part of the, the treasure chest, then came back, grabbed the treasure, hid the treasure with it. There was 4 times going back and forth in those trips, that he followed those exact same clues because they were the most, it was, the most direct route, as he is saying. So, I hope you guys are following me on this, that is the most direct route, that he did follow those clues, and it is the most direct route that he had to take. You guys follow me on this? My train of thought is completely different than probably most people's. And then there was another question very similar to it that actually came out 4 years prior to, in June 2nd of 2014. This question came from a gentleman by the name of Curtis. And he said, "When you hid the treasure, did you take the same path that is described in the poem, or were you able to skip some of the steps because of your familiarity with the area?" And Forrest Fenn responded, "The clues should be followed in order, Curtis. There is no other way to my knowledge." So yeah, Forrest Fenn is saying yes, he did follow those clues, and they should be followed in that order. There is no other way to his knowledge. So Forrest Fenn is saying there's no other way that you can get there, to that spot. In my opinion, that's how I read that. So all these things kind of float around the fact, and let me try and wrap this up. Again, I'm a little foggy. I'm having a beer. Cheers. But, if we are to believe, and again, these are just my thoughts. I'm no authority on the chase, but I'm really believing that those clues that he followed, when he hid the treasure, are those clues, the directional clues, in my opinion, that are contained within stanzas 2, 3, and 4. And those are the clues that he followed when he hid the treasure. And that is the most direct route he took, and that there is no other way to his knowledge that he had to follow those things. So I can follow my own notes here and make sure I'm keeping my train of thought. So again, the tense nature, of those clues, those are the things that were written afterwards. In my opinion, stanzas 1, 5, and 6, and I've had that opinion for a long time, and I've said it before, that why I still believe they are clues. They are part of the 9 clues. They may not be clues that get one physically closer to the treasure, they may be somewhat supporting clues. Now, if some people want to call them hints, that's fine too. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to call them hints, you can call them whatever you want to call them. Again, if you can figure out the poem and circumstance of the treasure, who gives a shit whether you think they're hints or clues, in my opinion. So, you know, why is all of this important? Why is it important to understand what clues he could have written or that he had known prior to hiding the treasure, and what clues that he possibly wrote, or what parts of the poem, if you want to call them parts of the poem or clues, what parts of the poem did he hide? Why is this whole discussion about the structure of the poem or the tense nature of the poem, whatever you want to call it, important? Well, I think it's important, you know, based a lot around what Minotaur Marino was talking about and some of the same thoughts that David and I, you know, believe in. And that is the fact that a couple of quotes that Forrest Fenn has said. And that one is that we know that the first clue is begin it where warm waters halt. Now, you know, some of this is only going to make sense if you subscribe to the idea that the 9 clues could be the 9 sentences in the poem. So, you know, bear with me on this. You know, if you're not a subscriber in that, that's okay. You know, we can talk about some of the things that go against, you know, that theory. But Forrest Fenn has also said, and this comes out of, and you can go look this up for yourself, and I'll try and put the link to this video in the description of this video. But it was a video from October 23rd of 2013 at Collected Works, and this was, I think, a book signing event from, you know, Too Far to Walk. And at the 34 and 45-second mark, Forrest Fenn had said, if a person reads the poem over and over and were able to decipher the first few clues in the poem, they can find the treasure chest. It may not be easy, but it certainly isn't impossible. Now, this is very interesting, because if now we have isolated, you know, stanzas 2, 3, and 4 as being the directional clues, and if you're thinking like me that the 9 sentences in the poem are the 9 clues, then those first 3 clues are begin it where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk. 1 clue. Second clue, put in below the Homer Brown. Then the third clue would be, from there, it's no place for the meat. The end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. 3. Okay, those would be the first 3 clues. Again, begin at where warm waters halt is the first clue. 9 sentences, 9 clues, guy. It's the whole sentence. Okay, that's the first clue. Now he's saying if somebody could figure out the first few clues, they could find the treasure. So that leads us to the whole point of understanding that the third stanza is the third clue. That if we could figure out those first 3 clues, just stanzas 2 and 3, we could find the treasure. It may not be easy, but it's definitely not possible. Even Forrest Fenn says, I could walk right straight to it. Well, of course, he put it there. He knows exactly where it is, right? So again, if you subscribe to the idea that the sentences are the clues, then that kind of makes sense. And we're isolating those directional clues, those 4 clues, or those 4 sentences that you know only reside between stanzas 2, 3, and 4. You know, and then a lot of people will go, okay, well, Sean, that leaves, you know, 5 more, or if you believe that you could find it in just the first 3, and that leaves 6 more, you know, stanzas out there, or 6 more sentences out there. You know, how is that even possible? Again, what was written, you know, after he hid the treasure, and what were the clues that he followed when he hid the treasure? Something to think about, right? I hope this is making sense to you. I mean, you all know how hard it is to, you know, to have ideas in your head and thoughts and beliefs, and to try and to vocalize those, even with friends or family and those kind of things. I mean, I've talked about how David and I, you know, how we talk about things and we can agree and disagree on things. And I think that's great as search partners. We do that. Again, guys, I know I'm ignoring you guys in the chat room, and I don't mean to do it. I'm just trying to, you know, purposely get through this, and then we can kind of discuss it and can go back over stuff. So now, if Forrest Fenn is telling us that we could figure out, or we could find the treasure if we could just decipher the first few clues, what does that really tell us about stanza 4, which is, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down, your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. Is he trying to tell us that, and this is going to be a big what if here, and this is probably going to rattle a lot of people's cages, but do we have to find the blaze? Is it necessary that we find the blaze? If Forrest Fenn, and again, this is all depending on you subscribing, and I know a lot of people don't subscribe to the 9 clues of the 9 sentences, absolutely not. But if in fact, this is a big if in fact the 9 clues are the 9 sentences, and he's telling us if we could figure out the first few clues, those being those sentences that end at the 3rd stanza and don't go into the 4th stanza, then is it necessary that we as searchers actually find the blaze? I don't know. I mean, I think it was Johnny Boyd in my Facebook group today. We were talking about these things, and we were talking about look quickly down. And what does that mean? Look quickly down, if you look it up, can also mean scan, skim, or dart your eyes. You're looking quickly down. You're scanning the area. You're darting. You're looking around. But isn't that something all of us do anyways? We get out there in our search area where we think the treasure is, and we're like, holy shit, we gotta kick over every rock that's out here, because we're looking down at the ground. We're expecting to find that 10 by 10 inch by 5 inch, treasure box. So we're already looking at the ground. We're already doing that. And Johnny Boyd, he brought up a great point. We're already doing that, but does that mean something else? But if Forrest Fenn is telling us that if we could figure out if we could decipher just the first few clues, we could have a chance of finding the treasure chest. It may not be easy. Again, this goes back to, why Forrest Fenn doesn't want to answer my question about, getting within 12 feet of the treasure. It's not easy, Sean. It's not easy, guys. We're going to have to try and find this thing. So I don't know. It's just something to talk about. Do we actually have to find the blaze? I think there's a lot of people that believe that the blaze is in fact a mark on a tree or a mark on a rock, and that we're simply going to walk up to this thing, we're going to look down at our feet, and fucking there's the treasure. I personally don't subscribe to that, because I think that a mark on a tree or rock or something is obviously feasible to remove. I'm thinking much bigger. I'm thinking larger, larger scale. That the blaze could be something much larger than all of us really believe, and while it's not feasible, or it's not impossible to remove, it's just not feasible to remove the blaze, in my opinion. So, and this, I've got a little note here, but this also kind of ties into this year's 6 Questions with Jenny, where Forrest Fenn had said, rocking chair ideas can lead one to the first few clues, but a physical presence is needed to complete the solve. So again, there's this whole first few clues. And if we're to believe that the 9 clues are 9 sentences, then those first few clues end at the end of the 3rd stanza. That's getting us out there. That's where we need to be. And then now we need that physical presence in order to complete the solve. Is that finding the blaze, or is that just us darting around and kicking over the right rock? I don't know. These are things to definitely ponder and to communicate within the treasure community to talk about. Going over my notes again more here. I don't know what else I got. Give me a second. Let me catch up. Again, guys, it was a good discussion. Go back to the video that we did like 6 months ago. It was July 5th, with David DeCall and I on the structure of the poem. We did talk about this. Went a little bit more in depth and kind of added some stuff in and some additional quotes that we didn't talk about before. But I think it's important to, again, I'm a poem purist. I'm poems ours. I'm very in depth on the words and the structure of the poem and understanding. I mean, again, Forrest said he felt like an architect drawing that poem. I think it's important that we understand more meanings and stuff and going into that. but it doesn't make it right. You know, I'm just like every one of you guys here. I'm still fumbling around in the dark trying to find this thing, so to speak. Over all my notes. So let me just check the chat room. I know you guys are chatting away. I don't even know how many people are in here. Anybody tell me how many people are in here? I don't even know. So here I go, looking through all you guys are probably talking about the price of wheat in China right now. You know what you guys are talking about, or talking about dementia, or talking about whatever else. Jason, I have nothing to do with the coins. I'm not knocking it. You know, I mean, cool. If somebody wants to put coins out there and do that, great. You know what? That's okay. You guys are just chatting away. Does anybody know how many people? I don't know how many people are in here. Doesn't matter. You guys are chatting away. Hey, Bill, what's going on, Bill? Didn't see you sneak in here. 22 Canarv, trying to catch up with some of you guys. Jerry Stone, how are you? You know, and I was having an email communication and a Facebook Messenger communication. Guys, I don't get a lot, but I get quite a few emails from people that are, you know, wanting me to talk about their solution, you know, their search area, stuff like that, guys. I don't respond to those emails. And I'm not trying to be rude to you guys, and maybe I should respond and just say, hey, you know, or something. I'm honestly not trying to be rude to you guys. David and I have talked a lot about this. We try not to, there's kind of a thing that we're concerned about, you know, with that, with communicating with people about their solves and things like that. I don't really want to go into detail about that, but I think some of you guys are smart enough to kind of pick up on this. But I'm not trying to be rude to people. Honestly, I'm not. It's just that when I don't want to pollute, you know, our thoughts. You know, there was some, you know, tension between David and I about this whole, you know, have you tip your toe in the water thing, you know, and David and I went back and forth on that. And you know, David and I basically agreed it does not change, has nothing to do with our solve. It doesn't, we do not believe what warm water salt is important. It doesn't matter, because I think you're oversimplifying that clue. So we you know, we don't communicate with people outside that much about other people's solves. So if you're going to send me your solve, guys, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. And it's not because I'm trying to be rude. It's not because I don't respect you or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that, guys. It has to do with a lot of the fact that David and I try and block out a lot of the noise. We try and focus on where we're at. We have a very what's the word I'm trying to look for? We're very confident in where we're searching and what we're doing, just like everybody else. I mean, we're no different than anybody else, but we just don't want to, we try not to pollute our thoughts. And this whole, you know, thing that went on with the toe in the water and all this unfortunate stuff that happened this year is unfortunate, but it was a learning experience. And I think we all can learn from that. But so yeah, again, guys, I'm not trying to be rude if I don't answer emails and stuff. It's just the way it is. So, hey, Treasure Galore, good to see you. Alan K. Went off and around. Anon, how are you? Tristan Wicks, that's a new one. How are you? You're thinking too hard about it. I don't know. If you're not redirected to me, guys, I'm not going to respond because I don't know who you're talking to. Explo Seeker, hey, that's a new one. Yeah, we saw you put your video out today. Good to see you in here. If you guys haven't seen, Explo Seeker is a new searcher. She just put out a video today. I think she said her first name is Lydia. I don't know if that's super secret or not, but anyway, good to see you. She's in Las Vegas too. So hopefully, Lydia or Explo Seeker, you can meet up with Mike Cowlings and DeCall Thomas. They are actually searchers that live out there. I think you said you were going to go to the poker thing. That's cool. Let us know how that goes. It's snowing on your solve. It's snowing here in New Mexico. So yes, I think you said you're looking in New Mexico, but yeah, it's farming. I live in Farmington, New Mexico, which is in the northwest corner of the state. And we got about 4 or 5 inches today. or over the last 24 hours. So not much, but definitely made it fun. I was definitely doing some Tokyo drift, driving around today. It was fun. Jerry Stone, come on, it's retrievable, and you're in New Mexico, right? Could be here. Personally, Sean is teaching me nothing. I'm not. David is way smarter than me. What are you guys talking about? I'm trying to catch up with you guys. Yeah, Treasure Galore, you're saying, we the generation I have. From what Forrest Fenn has said about there is 3 to 4 clues in the second stanza. Warm water salt is the first clue the plays, the second clue. Yeah, I mean, there's a, you know, the biggest, you know, I've had a, oh boy, here we go. I'm gonna go on a tangent here. You guys are gonna love this one. You know, there's a lot of people, not a lot. There's a couple of people that, you know, really have said that, you know, that my whole theory, and it is just a theory, that the 9 clues are the 9 sentences. And again, this is not my original idea. This has been an idea that's been out way before I even set foot in this chase, that the 9 clues are the 9 clues could be the 9 sentences. But, you know, a lot of people will say that the biggest detractor to that theory is that Forrest Fenn, in a radio interview, when somebody, you know, recites the second stanza, Forrest Fenn, you know, they say, you know, that sounds like a couple of clues there. And Forrest Fenn says, well, it sounds like 3 or 4 to me. You know, sure. You know, I mean, if you read it, you know, let me grab my book here real quick. Excuse me, guys. I should have had it here. All right, guys. Let's see if the old poem purist can find the poem in the book. I should have a bookmark, right? 132. I know what page it's on. I'm gonna cast it up. Okay. So we got the poem in the book. We all know. I don't even show. But if you read that second stanza, if you read it just like it is in the poem version, begin at where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the Homer Brown. Now, if you read it like that, well, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, it does sound like 3 or 4 clues, right? Because it just sounds like individual lines. And I would agree with those people. But again, it's Forrest Fenn is saying it sounds like. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is 3 or 4 clues. I mean, could it be? Sure, absolutely. I mean, I don't have the treasure. It could be. But he's just saying it sounds like. If the person is putting him on the spot and saying, well, that sounds like two clues to me, and he's saying, well, it sounds like 3 or 4 to me. I mean, he's not going to tell you. Forrest Fenn's not going to turn around and say, wait a minute, no, the 9 clues are the 9 sentences. You know, you've got it completely wrong. I mean, he's not going to, again, he's not going to give anybody hints or anything on the side or there. He's just, he's toying with you. Again, if you have no certainty in the first clue, he's going to toy with you. Again, the whole, you know, did you put your foot in the water thing, you know, or the treasure is located more than 300 miles west of Toledo. You know, if like he said, if people ask him all the time for clues, or, you know, he expects to give people things. People expect answers from him, so he just gives them whatever. You know, he's not trying to intentionally mislead people. He's just trying to, like I've said before, he's calling the field. You know, if you have no certainty in what's going on here, he's going to give you whichever you want. It's my opinion, you know. Again, if you don't know where you're going, any path will lead you there. If you aim at nothing, you're going to hit your mark every time. I don't know what to say about it. Golly, where are we at? Where are you guys? What are you guys doing? What are you talking about? So yeah, I mean, sorry, Treasure Galore. I mean, a lot of people just think that that's the biggest detractor against the 9 clues. And here, for all you anti-9 clues is 9 sentences, you know, let me give you the biggest ammunition against me that you guys haven't even thought of. And this is completely hilarious. You anti-9 clues, 9 sentences guys haven't even come up with this. I can't believe you haven't even thrown this at me. Like I'm gonna even just totally ruin my own theory here. Okay. He says, just prior to the poem, he says, so I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that, if followed precisely, will lead to the end of my rainbow and the treasure. What's the key word in that? He says, containing 9 clues. Okay? Containing. I have a drink containing beer. Is this glass full of beer? No, but it's containing beer, right? So the poem, yes, it does contain 9 clues. Does that, without a doubt, say that the 9 clues are 9 sentences? No, absolutely not. Now, if Forrest Fenn would have said, I wrote a poem consisting of 9 clues, wow, that might make you think that absolutely. But he doesn't, right? He says containing. So that could mean, yes, that the 9 clues only exist between begin and peace. Sure, absolutely. I would agree with that if somebody would actually fucking say that. But no, they want to go on this whole tangent of, well, he says it sounds like 3 or 4 to me. Come on, guys. Think. So now I'm going to counter my own and the ammunition that I gave everybody against the 9 clues. That why does he even tell us 9 clues? Why doesn't he just say, so I wrote a poem that, if followed precisely, will lead to the end of my rainbow and the treasure? There's something to the 9 clues. He's hinting at something. If I could believe, and again, this is my own personal confirmation bias, that if one of the biggest subtle hints in that book is that line just prior to the poem. So I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that, if followed precisely, will lead to the end of my rainbow and the treasure. Ends it in a colon. Again, guys, I know I sound like a broken record, and you guys have heard this 1,000 times. Forrest Fenn has said, I've said it so many times to go back to the poem, I hate to keep saying it. I don't know. Cheers. Oh God, guys, I've gone an hour on this whole subject. I thought I'd be done with this in 5 minutes. So the structure of the poem, guys, to answer some questions and save others from being asked, I did follow the clues in the poem and I hid the treasure, although I hid the treasure before the poem was complete. That tells us that there was parts of the poem that he already had figured out or written before he ever hid the treasure. And there were parts that he wrote afterwards. If you understand the tense natures, if you're paying attention to grammar and you understand that first stanza was probably, this is just my opinion, based on grammar and paying attention to all the after the fact comments, was written afterwards. So why is it I must go? Must go. He hasn't yet gone. So he's writing that just prior to leaving. And again, if you understand the discourse marker so and what it entails when you put it in the beginning of a sentence, you begin to understand that it's possible that stanzas 1, 5, and 6 were written once he returned. He might have already had them in mind and things like that, but because of the tense nature, they tell you that. So the directional clues 2, 3, and 4. Okay, gonna move on. You guys got anything on this before I move on? You guys are you're not even paying attention to me. You guys are just talking amongst yourself. What are you guys even talking about? I don't even know. You guys are going to go back and watch this later. And that's probably why my videos get 1,000 views. I mean, I don't have that many subscribers. I have less subscribers than you think and more than I deserve. That's what I say. Anyway. Okay. Let's talk about buried versus not buried. Now, Forrest Fenn has said, and we go back and forth. Sometimes he says he buried it. Sometimes he doesn't say, but the biggest thing is he said is it's too much of a clue. He didn't want to give that as a clue because he thinks it's too much of a clue. And why does Forrest Fenn not want to say, why doesn't he want to say he buried it? Okay. Is it because of legalities? Does Forrest, let's just say, if he was to come out and say it was buried or it is buried, right? that he physically buried it, when he went out and he hid the treasure, that he buried it, would that not eliminate a lot of the search area? Okay, I mean, we can go into the legalities of it being buried on national park, right? It's buried on national park. We can't go out there with a metal detector and try and find it. I mean, we can't go out there with a shovel and try and dig it up. Sure, yeah, you could. I mean, we could go in this whole discussion about people saying, well, we're just not going to say it was in Yellowstone, or it was on top of the ground, or whatever. I mean, sure, okay, but I mean, I think that there's a, you know, he didn't want to say it was buried because it could possibly eliminate a lot of areas. Now we could go into, golly, I'm totally losing my train of thought on this one. I think I was supposed to do the other one before this, but. So yeah, I think it would have eliminated many potential locations. You know, this goes to that, who is the rightful owner of the treasure chest, right? And let me just play the audio on this. I think I've got it up here. Let me just play the audio on this real quick.
Part of the area includes national parks, national forest, maybe Indian land. What have you figured out if the treasure is found in those areas? Who owns it?
This is not something that I jumped into superficially. I mean, I tried to think of everything. My feeling is, if you can find a treasure chest, you can have it.
But if I find the treasure and it's in a national park, don't I have to share it with Uncle Sam?
I spent a bunch of money with a lawyer to figure out the question about who owns it, if it's found on public land, on private property, or on Indian land. And there's all kinds of answers. If it's found in a national park, according to my attorney, the person that finds it is required to take it to the park superintendent. The rules are different if you find it on private property. If you find it on Indian land, it really gets complicated.
And the person who finds it has to deal with the legal questions.
Well, if there's a legal question, yeah. What if there's not a legal question?
Okay. Oh, sorry. My
argument is the person that finds it is going to own it.
Part of the area.
Oops. Let me go back over here. So yeah, you know, he's talking about he spent a lot of money with a lawyer to figure out those questions. So, and it kind of goes back to, you know, he has said before that he was going to make this happen no matter what. And if he was going to make this happen no matter what, why did he need to spend a whole lot of time or a whole lot of money with the lawyer to try and figure out the legalities if he was just going to make this happen no matter what? You know, if that special place really is Yellowstone and he was going to put it there, you know, why would he spend a whole bunch of money with the lawyer to try and figure out if somebody's going to own it? If he didn't really give a shit and he was going to make it happen no matter what, just bury it in Yellowstone and walk away and be done with it, right? And who gives a shit about the eventual finder? That's your problem. But he sits there and says in this video that, you know, it's my belief that whoever finds a treasure is going to own it. Now, in the book, and I think it was in the chapter, I can't remember which chapter it was, but he talks about where, you know, he ran across a set of desks at school and he got a spanking at school. And then when he went home, he got a spanking for his dad for getting a spanking at school, right? And that's when he said, you know, that was the first time that he had mistrust for government or for that. You know, again, I'm quoting this off the cuff. But here's a man who doesn't trust government. You really think that he's going to leave this whole fucking legacy and everything that he's put forth to chance, to some, you know, Tim Reed at Yellowstone National Park, that he's going to leave it in their hands? No, he's not going. This is just my opinion, but he's not going to leave it in their hands. So, I mean, again, I don't believe it's in a national park, but again, he spent a whole bunch of money with the lawyer, you know, and a lot of people will go, well, then the lawyer knows, you know, the lawyer must know where he's at. No, he asked the lawyer all these different questions of where it could be. So the lawyer has no idea, you know, he got answers of wherever it could be. He had to ask the lawyer, okay, what happens if it's found on this land? Forrest Fenn already knows where he wants to hide it, okay? But he's asking the legalities of those things because he wants to make sure that you, the eventual finder of the treasure, is going to own it, and there's not going to be any legalities of it. So, you know, there's been a lot of people asking me, well, okay, well, what kind of land would it be on? I don't give a shit. Why are you so compelled to try and figure out what kind of land it is on? You know, I mean, all this cyberspace verbiage is conspicuous with the lack of talk about where warm waters halt. Why are you so focused on trying to figure out if you can own it or not? You know, just figure out, you know, the poem. Stop worrying about all this other shit. He's already figured all this out for you. You know, you're trying to find ways around it or trying to focus on there. Just figure out where warm waters halt. Figure out, you know, the location of it, and you won't have to worry about all that shit, in my opinion. I mean, I'm poem czars, you know. I mean, if you want to talk about a 200-footer, or you want to talk about coins, or you want to talk about maps, or you want to talk about fucking dementia, go somewhere else, guys. You know, I'm here to talk about the poem. I'm here to talk about focus on the simplicity. Oh boy, I'm getting a little riled up. So to me, I personally, when it comes to buried versus not buried, you know, the word trove really stands out to me, and I'm not gonna cite all the legal jargon regulations for BLM, National Forest, National Park, and all this other land. You guys are smart enough; you can do this yourself. You're researchers. I don't need to do this for you. But in the word trove, has to be something that was deliberately hidden or concealed in order to be considered a trove, with the intent of the finder either coming back or not coming back to get it. So it has to, the key word, the key statement is it has to be deliberately hidden or concealed. Now, Forrest Fenn, you know, if you go back and you watch that whole lure video, and I think this is a complete ambush on Forrest Fenn, you know, when he got called up there to talk to this lady, but there was one key thing in there where he talks about, you know, is he burying more things? And Forrest Fenn goes into this whole thing about, you know, is it buried? Is it entombed? But he says one key thing in there, and he says, you know, if some weeds blew in there, you know, and covered it up, or so to speak, is it buried? Is it entombed? So to me, I've got to tile this all together. It's really hard to tile this in together. But to me, I personally don't believe Forrest Fenn buried it. I don't believe that he went out there and physically dug a hole and stuck it in the ground. Okay. I believe that Forrest Fenn probably put it on top of the ground and may have covered it up, you know, with some rocks, or put it in a place where he eventually expected that time and Mother Nature would do its own job. You know, again, you know, if some wind blew, or excuse me, if some weeds blew in there and covered it up, you know, is it entombed or whatever? So I'm thinking that, again, if that's why his whole response to me about, you know, not being able to say whether or not somebody would get within 12 feet of this thing and not find it. And I asked him that whole question about, in 2014, he had said, you know, I've never said anyone had been within 12 feet of the treasure. It's highly unlikely anyone would get that close and not find it. And I asked him, you know, do you still feel that that is true? And he turned around and said, better not answer that question, Sean. Sorry. So he just doesn't know. Is it possible that Mother Nature could have covered this thing up over time? Sure. I mean, one of his Q&As or weekly words on you know, Mysterious Writings was, the treasure chest weighs 42 pounds plus. Best to have gloves. Okay, why the heck do we need gloves? Okay, why do we need gloves on our hands? Why is he saying best to have gloves? You know, he's also said in his safety message, you know, you don't have to move any large rocks. Is that implying that we have to move small rocks? I don't know. Could he have covered it in small rocks? Is that why we need gloves? Is that why he's saying, is braving in the wood? Is it in a bramble bush? You know, is it best to have gloves to protect your hands in order to get that? I don't know. You know, there's different things you got to think about and how this thing may be hidden. But I think the word trove and the fact that deliberately hidden or concealed. So Forrest Fenn had to deliberately hide or conceal this thing in order for it to be considered a trove. And we got to get into this whole legalities. And I really think that that stanza 5 really talks about the legalities of this thing, you know. So why is it I must go and leave my trove, key word, for all to seek, key phrase. He's telling us that everybody has the same opportunity. Again, willfully abandoned property and mislaid property. If it's mislaid, you accidentally leave your wallet, you know, it's not for all to just grab and legally walk away from it. But if you purposely abandon your wallet and say, whoever finds it can have it, then whoever finds it can have it. Again, I believe whoever finds a treasure is going to own it. That whole video we just talked about. So now let's talk about the bells versus the chest. And this really kind of goes into this whole buried thing. Now he talks about in the chapter in the book, you know, Dancing with the Millennium. He talks about burying the bells and all these other things. But he specifically says that the bells are buried, that he doesn't even know where they are, that these bells will be stumbled upon. He expects these things in, you know, 1,000 years to be stumbled upon, you know, that, and the reason why he expects those things to be stumbled upon to mean accidentally. Someone's going to accidentally happen upon these bells because they are buried. They're 3 feet deep. Not even a metal detector can find them. That's what he wants. He wants them to be accidentally stumbled upon. Okay, there's no poem, there's no words, no nothing to tell you where they are. Even Forrest Fenn himself can't even remember where he put him, right? Well, the chest is different. It's not meant to be stumbled upon. It's meant to be purposely found. We have a poem with 166 words, 9 clues. They're supposed to be, if followed precisely, will lead to where this treasure is. It's not meant to be stumbled upon. It's meant to be purposely found. There's a difference. The bells are buried. Does that mean that the treasure was never intentionally or purposely buried? But because he doesn't know, he hasn't been back to that spot, he doesn't know whether it's buried or entombed or is sepultured. He does not know. Sorry, Sean, better not answer that question. He doesn't know. You know, is that, when going to this whole 200 foot or people within 200 foot, is that for us to believe that he knows that somebody's been within 12 feet or 20 feet or something of that treasure and they didn't find it? He's like, oh, fuck, you know, you dumbass, you were right there. Now he's like, well, maybe it is entombed. Maybe Mother Nature has covered up. Maybe some weeds did blow in there and covered up and grew a bush over it. Who knows? You know, guys, I'm just like you. I'm just trying to figure this thing out and trying to go into it. So again, the difference between bells and the treasure chest. The bells are meant to be accidentally found. They're buried. He doesn't even know where they are. He knows where the treasure is. He knows it's meant to be purposely found. He wrote a poem that leads to it. I don't believe in my heart of hearts that he buried the treasure. I believe that he purposely hid it and concealed it, but he didn't bury it. Now, whether you think that that's rocks he put on it and that's why we need the gloves, you know, and maybe we have to move some small rocks, I don't know, guys. That's up to us to figure out, and hopefully the eventual finder will tell us. Cheers. An hour and 10 minutes here. Guys, I know I'm rambling. I haven't even completely paid attention to you guys. I have this whole thing to talk about what type of land it's on. And again, guys, you know, I mean, it's no different than this whole 200 foot thing. And who could have guessed that Forrest Fenn would tell us that this whole 200 foot thing is a complete rabbit hole? I don't know. Maybe this guy. Guys, there's no shortcuts. There is absolutely no shortcuts. It is just the poem. Yeah, again, I'm poem czars, okay, guys? I'm the poem purist, the evil fucking poem purist, okay? I'm going to preach poem purist. If you want to go talk about crazy moon, stars, and, you know, try the wheel and everything else, there's plenty of talk about that, guys. I'm not that. I'm about the poem. Again, I'll talk about all the other stuff and the stuff on the peripherals, but I have the belief and the faith that all the information I ever needed to find this treasure was in the poem. But what type of land? Who gives a shit? Just figure out where warm water, salt, and you'll know. You'll know what type of land, right? And you'll own it. Forrest Fenn, we're supposed to have confidence in this guy. Why do we keep questioning him? He's the one that put this thing together. Let's see where I was going with this. What type of land on it? Okay. Who is it? Okay. Give me a second, get my whole train of thought here before I go on this whole next topic. So let's okay, what type of land? So let's go back to, we're going to rewind to March 4th of 2016 here. We're going to go back to this whole what ifs. You guys remember that? The whole what ifs question. And Forrest Fenn had said, and this was in March 4th of 2016, let me get back over here. He had said, after reading, and this was all capitals, HOD, I'm prompted to ask, have you considered the what ifs? Now, a lot of us believe that HOD stood for Home of Dow, or Dow Neitzel's website. Now, I can't prove or deny that that's actually what he was talking about. But if you were paying attention to, you know, all those things that were going on Dow Neitzel's website back in, you know, late February of 2016, there was a huge debate going on in the, you know, legal ponderings thread. And you can go look at this over on Dow Neitzel's site. And this whole legal ponderings things, that there was some, you know, so-called, I call him Barrick's lawyer or whatever, saying that, you know, well, it has to be here, it has to be on this type of land because of legalities and all this other stuff. There was this whole, you know, debate about that, you know, and Forrest Fenn was saying, have you considered the what ifs? Now, if we go back to this, I'm going to play it again, who's the rightful owner video.
Includes national parks, national forest, maybe Indian land.
This is the whole debate, right?
Out if the treasure is found in those areas. Who owns it?
This is not something that I jumped into superficially. I mean, I tried to think of everything. My feeling is, if you can find a treasure chest, you can have it.
But if I find the treasure and it's in a national park, don't.
So we all know he goes into this whole thing about, you know, what if it's here, what if it's there, and it ties into this whole legal ponderings crap. Okay, but now here's something you guys are gonna have to look up for your own. If you then, and on March 24th, there was another question asked on Mysterious Writings. This was by somebody named Somebody, and somebody had said, let me see if I can find it here, guys. Give me a second. Got like 50 different windows up here. Somebody had asked, Forrest, you answered in part, what surprises me is that nobody, to my uncertain knowledge, has analyzed one important possibility related to the winning solve. Is that statement still accurate? Thanks, Somebody. And Forrest Fenn had responded, yes, Somebody, and that is why I recently suggested that searchers consider the what ifs. Okay, back to the what ifs. He's saying, you know, there's one important possibility that people haven't considered, and that's why he's saying go back to the what ifs. Is he talking about the legal considerations, or is he talking about something else? Now, I'm going to throw you guys through a loop here, and you guys are probably going to have to go back and watch this completely over again. Now, this is going to come off of Dow Neitzel's website, and this is from the Santa Fe interviews. And this was about what Forrest Fenn calls tests. And he's going to go into talking about tests that he had to take about the F-100. So if you're interested, stop typing, pay attention to what's going to be said here, because I think this is interesting. Hopefully you guys can hear it.
Airplane in the Air Force. They have what they call technical orders, call them TOs. Everything about that airplane is written in a book. How to fly it, how it's made, every little thing is in there. Once a year, you have to take a test on that airplane. The test for the F-100 had 600 questions on it. They give you the test, and they give you all the answers. And then when you go in to take the test, they pick out 200 at random. You take the test, you have to get all of them right. If you miss one question, you flunk it. What's wrong with giving me all the answers that you want me to know instead of making the answers a mystery to me when you want me to know what they are? I don't understand that. Give me the answers. Let me study them. And when I go in to take that test, I'm going to know everything, little thing there is to know about that airplane. And that was your goal with me, was it not? That's something that hadn't been around for a long time. But I mean, I can't explain it. I mean, some things are so obvious that, you know, you don't want to look so far down the road that you don't see what's laying in front of you.
Stop. He says you don't want to look so far down the road that you don't want to see what's laying down in front of you. Right? He's saying you don't want to look so far down the road that you don't want to see what's laying down in front of you. We're looking too far ahead. Now, you guys are going to have to go back and do this on your own. Go back to the March 24th Q&A with somebody about the what ifs. This is on Mysterious Writings. You got to find it. Forrest Fenn responds, and he posts in here. He says, a hypothetical example of a what if might be, what if I was looking so far ahead that I neglected to notice what was beside me? He's talking about the same thing. He's talking about the test for the F-100. What's wrong with giving me the answers ahead of time? Because those are the things you wanted me to know already. Guys, this totally relates back to his thing about simplify. We're overcomplicating this thing. We're all trying to look outside the box as if the answer lies out there somewhere, when in fact, all the answers are right there in the poem. The clues, the 9 clues, whether you think they're, you know, the 9 sentences or the 9 the 9 sentences of the 9 clues, or you think they only exist between begin and cease, they are the answers. He's already given us the answers. They are all the evidence we need to solve this case. We just have not deciphered them yet. We keep looking outside. We keep looking at all these try the wheel, the moon, the stars, the timing, the 800-foot salamanders, everything else that's out there. We're overcomplicating it. It's simple. It's right there. Again, it's just my opinion. We're just overcomplicating it. Let me finish off what he's saying here and listen.
I hate the phrase strategic planning. Let's talk about tactical planning. Let's don't talk about 10 years from now. Let's talk about this afternoon, in the morning. What are you going to do at 8 o'clock in the morning? I don't know what you're going to do in 10 years from now. Besides that, so many things have changed. Your strategic plan is not worth writing anymore. Museums are bad about that. Universities. I never did go to university, but I'm guessing when you fly.
So again, he's saying your strategic planning means nothing. What are you going to do 5 minutes from now? Guys, we're looking so far ahead. We're overcomplicating this. We're trying to figure out what the blaze is before we even understand where warm water's halt is. We're figuring out the first 2 clues, but we're going right on past it. Even Dal Neitzel admits to himself that after 8 years of being in this thing, he realizes that, you know, I'm going through the canyon. I'm not in the canyon. I'm going through it. This is a guy, the fucking most veteran guy that we have, and this is now after 8 years is realizing that he's looking too far ahead. Shit, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm fucking rambling off. Holy cow. Again, a hypothetical example might be, what if I was looking so far ahead that I failed to notice what was right beside me? We're overcomplicating this. We're trying to figure out what the legalities of owning this treasure, so we can try and figure out where it's at. Why don't you just figure out where it's at, and then fuck the goddamn legalities? Who gives a rat's ass? Find it, and then you can worry about it. He's already told us that he believes a person is going to find it. Why are you not trusting him? Why are you looking for a 200-footer? You know, just figure out where warm water's hauled, and you'll be the 200-footer. Shit, I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent. You guys doing all right? Because I'm having fun. I don't even care. What are you guys talking about? I'm going to let you guys talk. I'm going to go use the bathroom. I'll be right back. I'm going to give me another beer. All right, folks, I'm back. Second beer of the night. This is Mission Street IPA. This is a Indian Pale Ale out of Monrovia, California, out of the San Gabriel Valley down there in Southern California. I am from Northern California, but we still love our Southern brothers. Cheers, Davia. I know you're out there somewhere. It's good. So what are you guys talking about? I'm going to try and catch up with you guys. I've been ranting. I don't see you guys. You guys are just talking. Dev JB. Okay, I finally see somebody talking to me. You guys don't even like me. You just talk amongst yourselves. It's called qualitative. Like, that's too big of a word. It's like 4 fucking. I don't know. Qualitative and quantitative data research. The exact same reason why your chair is warm. Dev, you're talking way over my head today. I've had a couple beers, so yeah. I like to think I'm a good researcher, but I'm probably not. I'm more of an analyst. I analyze. I probably overthink things sometimes, but what are you guys talking about? Come on, give me a hint. Give me something you guys want me to talk about. What do you guys want me to talk about? Hey, Eugene, I see you're in there. Gay Delkin, good to see you, brother. I still haven't met, God, I haven't met any other searcher. I haven't even met my own search partner. There's a lot of people I want to meet. Has anybody got an update on Toby? I know, I think K-Pro was saying something. He had his pacemaker replaced and stuff like that. I hope he's doing okay. I hope we get an update on him. Shelly, if you're in here, or Toby, hope you're doing fine. What are you saying, David? My goodness, Sean, we need to do a show. Anyone down for that? I know H-Bird keeps asking for it, and boy, is she asking for it. Holly, are you asking for a show? Guys, I don't know. I'm having fun just doing solo shit. Michael, what are you saying? Jenny Kyle's Fenn Decode, back of the book. I don't have Jenny's book. I've heard it's great. I'm not. Again, you know, I'm trying to block out all the noise. It's hard to, but again, I use all these after the fact comments as ballast. I pay attention to them. I mean, a lot of people think that a poem purist is some guy that's got his eyes shut and stuck in a dark basement with just a poem and a flashlight and maybe a pimento sandwich. But that's not me, guys. You know, again, you can't fucking grab a dictionary and look up the definition of a poem purist. You know, make up our own rules. If you think I'm not a poem purist, okay, please show me a definition of a poem purist. And of course, now somebody's going to go out there and write up a definition of a poem purist, and it won't be a picture of me, I guess. I don't know. Joe, what's going on, Joe? What do you say? The flip side, Sean, does imagination factor into your solve? To what degree can you give a similar example? Oh, good question, Joe. Forrest Fenn says imagination is more important than knowledge. And I think he hints at this in the whole chapter of, Teachers with Ropes. And I've talked a little bit about this, and I know maybe some of you have heard it, and some of you that haven't, I'll reiterate it. I personally, while a lot of people are looking at the chapters in the books and trying to find subtle hints, I think they're missing the message or the messages that I think Forrest is trying to convey. And I think he's trying to teach us things. And when I read, Teachers with Ropes, I think he's really trying to tell us, in his own personal opinion, that, our education system tends to lasso our children's imagination for a set course curriculum. We all, some of you guys are parents and maybe grandparents and maybe even great grandparents. We give up our children and our future to our teachers, and God bless our teachers. I'm not trying to knock our teachers by any means. They're only doing what they're said to do, but we're giving up their minds to a set course curriculum. We're lassoing them, and we tend to give them this set course curriculum, and we tend to lasso them. And I think that's a whole Teachers with Ropes. And Forrest Fenn talks about it in the chapter that he says, when the teachers would walk away, he would basically throw all those rules out the window. You could touch whatever you want, ask whatever questions you want, and he wanted, answers back from them. He wanted, things to come back from them. But we do, if we continue to lasso our children's imaginations in lieu of a set course curriculum, are we stymieing those future Edisons, those future Teslas? Are we stymieing, those future ideas? Are we stymieing those future, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates? Are we stymieing those imaginations of those people because we want to set them all in a box? We want to make them all equal. We want to do all this other crap. I don't know, guys. This is just shit that runs through my brain, and so yeah, I think imagination is more important than knowledge, because without the imagination of those inventors that came well before our generations, we wouldn't have some of the inventions that we have today. We wouldn't have YouTube. We wouldn't have computers. We wouldn't have lights. We wouldn't have all this stuff. I know it's whimsical to think about, but really we wouldn't. The imagination of our forefathers created and gave us all the things we have today. So we need to quit stymieing the imagination of our children in form of, reading, writing, and arithmetic sometimes. I don't know. I don't know where our education system is going to go in the future. I think it needs a drastic change. And that's no knock on our educators today. It's just that I think it's antiquated and it needs to be upgraded. It needs to change. But who am I? I don't have a college education. You know, barely graduated high school. Shit. I don't know. But I'm having fun. Cheers. Good question, Joe. I like it. Home Pierce would be a Puritan. No, I'm not a Puritan, Bill. Exactly. Deb, I don't know what you're talking about. I know I went on a rant there. Get me on my political soapbox, and I'm going to make some enemies. Okay, any other questions out there? Come on, guys, give me something. Gay Delcom, what are you saying? Look at the beer bottle in front of you, Sean. What do you see? Use your imagination. What do I see? I see a lot of beer left. We got some more time to talk, guys. We're an hour and a half here. What do you want to talk about? Hey, Sledneck, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you and your brother. I'm sure you've probably been in here, but Sledneck is always the guy who always scopes out all the new YouTubers and FinTubers and everybody out there before me. He's like, he ought to be doing the weekend update. Sled, come on, you ought to be doing that. You're way ahead of me. What's going on, Sasha? What trouble are you causing up? Come on, let's start some trouble. Who was it last week that said I need to unbite my tongue or something? BLM legends. Yeah, hey, Sasha, what was that guy that was, I can't remember that guy's name, that was all negative about, it was a video with this guy, and he was, I don't know, he was some BLM agent, and he was, fucking, what was that video? I can't remember that guy's name, but I kept joking with David that if we found the treasure, I'm gonna wear the bracelet and be like having a handshake with that guy wearing the bracelet, because that guy just pissed me off. He was talking about, well, it's found on this land, you know, we own it and blah blah blah. I was like, fuck you, shut up. Glenna Friedman, night. If you're going tonight, good night, Glenna. I don't know his name either, Sasha. I can't remember, but that guy just fucking irritated the shit out of me. It was like, that's the kind of guy that Forrest Fenn's like, oh, I can't stand. At least in my opinion. You know, Forrest Fenn has obviously doesn't like these people that put shit down the bottom of the basements and hide it from everybody. And that's what that guy came off to me as. Oh, shit. We're getting here. Where are we going to talk about? What do you guys want to talk about? David, are you still in here? What do you want to talk about, David? Usually I don't have a problem talking, but yeah, I'm running out of words, right? Forrest Fenn said he was running out of words. Yeah, sure. Silver Fox. Hey, Sean, since Forrest says he state, what? Okay, guys. I'm a poem purist. I'm really good at words. I'm figuring out words, and some of you guys got to figure out how to write. What are you saying here? Hey, Sean, since Forrest says he wrote some directions and changed the words over and over until he was happy with it, shouldn't we just do the same in reverse? Well, I mean, Silver Fox, he did say, let me see if I'm getting the gist of what you're saying here. He did say there was a quote, and I know I'm going to completely mess this one up, guys. You know, he had said, hang on, how was that? It was one to Fenn diagrams. Let me see if I can find that one. Okay. He said in Fenn diagrams, and this was in 2017, I believe. So when you wrote the poem, did you start with the first clue or the ninth? He said, I knew all along where I wanted to hide the treasure, so I didn't need a map or any information to write the poem. Everything was in my head. It took me a while to get the wording exactly how I wanted it. Counting the clues and hiding the chest came later. It's not like anyone would find the treasure. But he also had said, you know, that to Halo Getter, he had said, you know, I didn't count the clues until the poem was completed. Although I changed it over the months, I think the number stayed about the same. So when he said, although I changed it over the months, what months is he talking about? You know, that he changed the poem around? You know, are we talking about the months between when he physically hid the treasure and he he completely edited the poem to the version that we find now. That he changed it so many times to just get the wording exactly the way he wanted it. I mean, I can imagine if I'm going to be the person that's going to put this, this thing out there, and I'm writing this poem, that I'm wanting to get the wording exactly the way I wanted it. Now, after I hide the treasure, and I'm thinking, okay, now this is going to be something that I'm going to write down, and again, the moving hand has writ, and having writ moves on. Nor all your piety and wit, can lure it back to change a word. Again, that whole words from Omar Khayyam that are in the book. So he has to make sure he gets this thing exactly the way he wanted it. So yeah, he was changing it. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, we should again be doing it in reverse, and that's why me as a poem purist, I'm so focused on the words. And punctuation, again, guys, it's there for a reason. Punctuation gives us the context of the words. We're messing with this poem if we choose to remove any of the punctuation. So I still feel that it's important. Is it important in us solving the poem? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, that still remains to be seen. And whoever finds this can say, wow, fuck you, punctuation didn't mean anything to me. Or that person can say, it was that comma right here and there that made me find it, or that semicolon that was important. We don't know. It's not found yet, guys. And whoever finds it, they can make up whatever rules they want. They can say whatever they want. And even Forrest Fenn could be like, well, he found it. I didn't mean for that semicolon to be important, but he thought it was important and he found it, so it was important to that person, him or her or whatever, who knows? But sure, Silver Fox, yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to, my belief that, the gold bug and Edgar Allan Poe, and I know this is way off on a tangent and completely outside of the poem and everything else, that the way that Poe wrote that and how it was decrypted and understood was that, where did I get on this tangent here? That anything that was written by a man can be decrypted by a man or a woman. I'm just saying that again. In a game of wits, there is no gender bias. A woman has just as much, brain power and capacity to solve this as a man. There's no physical, capacity that's going to make one person better than the other. Sure, there's people on oxygen that have a trouble at, anywhere between 5,000, 10,000 feet. But again, we're talking about a game of wits. You can figure out the first few clues. Rocking chair ideas can lead one to the first few clues, but a physical presence, that's when it becomes more of a physical game. So yeah, Silver Fox, I think that it's important to pay attention to words and everything else in order to decrypt this thing into, if you want to reverse engineer or whatever, to try and figure this thing out. Boy, I've gone on that one for a while. Are you guys still here? Has everybody gone to bed? I don't even know. And Sasha Johnson, you're smarter than Masked. Guys, fat fingers. Guys got it right. You're smarter than a Masked, Sasha. Mark Connor, flip side. Will you walk around it or go out of your way to do so? And will you ever think anything about it? What are we, Mark? I lost you, Mark. That's the problem with this. I don't pay attention to you guys and I completely miss it. Yep. Did Edgar Allan Poe say listen good to Vincent van Gogh? Didn't Vincent only have one ear? H. Pert, they good glass eye. I don't know. There's Hush. Hey, Hush Whisper, how are you doing? Hush, I completely did not understand your video. Sorry, you got to put some audio in there and explain it, because I didn't understand what was going on there. Hush Whisper, the poem describes a unique location unlike other locations. Sure. It's unique to Forrest, you know. I don't know. If your location is unique, chances are not there. You know, Forrest Fenn said, you know, that he removed, you know, why that place was special out of his memoir. Well, again, I go back to this whole thing about those, you know, that figured out the first two clues that went right on past the treasure. Why did they go right on past it? Did they only arrive, you know, within 500 feet of the treasure because it was as an aberration of the poem, as some word or phrase in the poem that made them lead there? And why did they go right on past it? Did they sit there and say, well, this place doesn't seem special enough? It doesn't seem unique enough to me? Again, we place this overemphasis on what we believe is special to Forrest. We don't know why this place is special to Forrest. Even he has removed that reason out of his memoir for personal reasons. We don't understand why that place is special. So I think that is something that we completely need to take out of our minds, because that is limiting us, because that place is only special to Forrest for reasons we do not yet understand and may never understand. If someone finds it tomorrow and they're sitting down with Forrest and they say, Forrest, why is this place special to you? And he says, oh, because of this. And we're like, well, it doesn't seem very special. Well, because that doesn't trigger a specialness with us, but it does with him. So completely take that out of your thought process. I don't know how to explain that to people better. I really don't. I think that's a complete fallacy. I think it's complete folly, much like, you know, trying to figure out who this 200-footer is. If you're trying to figure out, you know, oh, it's got to be Yellowstone, or it's got to be this place, it has to be in New Mexico for whatever reasons, guys, you're putting the cart before the horse. You're looking so far ahead that you fail to notice what is right beside you. And what is right beside you but those 166 words in the poem that is telling you where that special place is. No one has any information about that special place. It's all in the poem for all to see. It's right there. It's just in the words. But yet we keep trying to force fit our own interpretation of what is special into those words of the poem. And God, I don't know how to tell you guys not to do that. Just figure out the clues in the poem. I'm not saying that's right. Again, poems ours, you know. Anyway, guys, we're going on an hour and 45 here, and I probably should get ready to finish this shit up. So, fucking some stuff up here. Anyway, so how are you guys doing? You guys got big plans for your New Year's? I mean, we got New Year's coming up. We got all kinds of stuff. I mean, hope you guys are planning some stuff. I'm asleep typing. David, are you asleep? Is Tracy gonna come in there and beat your ass? You need to get some sleep, brother. It's like what, 1:43 your time? Yeah, I mean, Dev, JB, a lot of people like the Fennsomnia area out there on the end of Cimarron Canyon. That's an area I've definitely, you know, looked at before. I think it's a beautiful area, absolutely. I'll be lucky alive. David, you better be alive. We got to make that eagle land, brother. You know, guys, I'm a poem purist. You know, I'm the poem purist, so to speak. You know, there's a lot of people looking at other stuff out there, and who's to say they're wrong, but I'm the poem purist. What else do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about 200 footer? No. Golly. I mean, I told you guys before, I thought that it was complete folly to be trying to figure out who this 200 footer was. I mean, it makes no absolute sense. I mean, everybody thinks of the 200 footer, right? I mean, how do you identify with any level of certainty who the 200 footer is? I mean, shit, guys, we can't even agree on what the 9 clues are. And you think you're going to be able to figure out who the 200 footer is? We can't even agree on shit, anything. Like, try and figure out who the 200 footer is? Okay, good luck. I mean, if you can figure out who the 200 footer is, you can figure out where Warren Waters Hall. Come on. We the generation. David, you're the 800-foot salamander, right? Anon. Charlie Brown's girlfriend was Peggy Jean. Anything there? No. Sorry, Anon. I don't think there's anything there. Davio, you're the fringe. Yes, it's cool, man. It's all right, brother. We're all the fringe. This is the non-PC beer drinking, thrill the chase chalking show. This is the fringe. Jack, what's up, Jack? Maybe we should start looking at the word simplify as a hint to something. This thing has gone on for years, and he continues to use the same word. Well, he's never really used simplify that much, Jack. Again, I think we're overcomplicating this thing. We're looking so far ahead, like he said, that we fail to notice what's right beside us. We're trying to look for the blaze. We're trying to figure out, what type of land it's on. We're trying to find the 200 footer. We're trying to, we're looking for all these shortcuts. We're looking to believe that the images from the 2009 raid, the FBI raid on his home, is going to give us some secret information about where the treasure is. No, the man is smart enough to not do that. I mean, okay, let's think about this. Okay, he says that he's sitting there when he's hiding the treasure chest and he's about to close the lid on the treasure chest, and he thinks, there's no part of me in this treasure chest. He wants a part of him in this treasure chest. So what does he do? He takes off his prized, 22B turquoise bracelet off his wrist and he puts it in there because he wants a part of him in that treasure chest. Okay, we're not talking just about his hairs that supposedly he put in there with the memoir. He wants something that's personal to him in that treasure chest. That's something that he admits that he did at the last moment and he put in there. So that tells me that the man is smart enough to not, if there was in fact this 2009 raid, that he had some little secret information that's saved just for the person who finds the treasure, that could have been photographed, by the FBI agents and BLM. You don't think that this guy is smart enough to go, well, fuck, I got to change my plans, and make this completely different? No, he's smart enough to not have something laid out there that's going to give somebody secret information. So this whole idea that if you get this Freedom of Information Act information and images about everything that's in the treasure chest, that's going to give you some secret knowledge of where this thing is, you're full of fucking shit. It's not going to be there, guys. I've told you guys before, this whole gut feeling, everybody thought that this gut feeling was based around somebody had solved all 9 clues. And I told you, no, it's based on instinct and intuition, not on facts. What does Forrest Fenn turn around and say? Well, my gut feeling doesn't mean anything. No shit, Sherlock. Warm has nothing to do with temperature. What does he come around and say? No, warm to him means comfortable. No shit, Sherlock. Okay, this whole FOIA thing, not going to be anything there, guys. The 200 footer, I told you guys, not going to be anything. What does Forrest Fenn say? Not going to lead you anything. Not saying I know everything. I'm just saying logical, common sense thinking and critical thinking leads you to believe that this man was smart enough not to leave any back doors or shortcuts for anybody to find this. You've got to figure out the poem. You've got to follow it precisely. There is no shortcuts, plain and simple. I don't know how to keep telling you guys this. Oh, shit. I'm off my soapbox again. No, I'm not, Forrest. But I think I understand him. You know, I think it was, you know, there was a few people that said, you know, you got to understand Forrest to understand this poem. I think you got to understand the man. I agree with that. Doesn't mean it's going to give you some kind of, you know, magic, you know, fast pass to the treasure. Just means you kind of understand how the man thinks. You know, he worked on this poem for 15 years. Every word in that poem is crafted. It's not just a sentence, it's a craft. You know, I looked up the meaning of words. You know, we really don't know what our words mean. Golly, I mean, we're all looking outside the box for the answers when that's not where they're at. You know, they're right there in the poem. Again, like he says in that video. Where is that freaking video? I'm going to play it again.
An airplane in the Air Force.
Listen.
They have what they call technical orders. Call them TOs. Everything about that airplane is written in a book. How to fly it, how it's made, every little thing is in there. Once a year, you have to take a test on that airplane. The test for the F-100 had 600 questions on it. They give you the test, and they give you all the answers. And then when you go in to take the test, they pick out 200 at random. You take the test, you have to get all of them right. If you miss one question, you flunk it. What's wrong with giving me all the answers that you want me to know instead of making the answers a mystery to me when you want me to know what they are? I don't understand that.
Yeah. You know, what's wrong with giving me all the answers? They're not a mystery. Forrest Fenn has given us all the answers. He's given us all the information we need. It's right there. Plain and simple, right in front of us. We just have not become wise enough to their answers. We haven't figured them out yet. We're out there outside the box trying the wheel and looking at the moon and the stars and the Omega Man and fucking selling coins and shit, you know. Come on, guys, they're right there. It's right there. It's right, plain and simple, right in front of our face.
Give me the answers.
Give me the answers.
Let me study them.
Let me study them.
When I go on a test,
study the clues in the poem.
Know everything.
You're going to know everything you need to know.
And that was your goal with me.
And that was his goal with us, anyways. You know, I wrote a poem containing 9 clues.
That hadn't been around for a long time. Because, I mean, I can't explain it. I mean, some things are so obvious.
So obvious.
You know, you don't want to look so far down the road that you don't see what's laying in front of you. I hate the.
You don't want to be looking so far down the road you don't see what's laying right down in front of you. We're looking so far down the road. Where's the legalities? Where could it be? Where are the roads? Just figure out the poem, folks. Ah, shit. All right. I'm going to fucking end this crap. Chris Battles. Hey, all from Australia. What time is it in Australia, Chris? Mike Modine. How are you? Nodine, sorry. Mark Connor. Deb JB. Anon. 3 p.m. No shit. Aren't you supposed to be at work, brother? What are you doing? You probably are. You're probably behind the computer doing your work, right? Don't you have yeah. Good to see you, brother. I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, sure. It could be a unique location. It's unique in the sense that the treasure is sitting there, Hush Whisper, sure. Free entertainment, yeah. I'm just here to entertain. Not selling anything, just having fun. Again, this is my thrill of the chase. I'm just having fun talking with you guys. Yeah, Douglas K. or Alan K. Douglas Preston is the real poem purist. He told Forrest the first version was too easy. Sure. Yeah, Forrest Fenn's not watching this. No, sorry, David, no maps. You can buy this one for $22 for $1,500 shipping and handling. Anyway, guys. All right, guys, it's been fun. It's been real. We're at 1:54. I don't care if you like. I don't care if you subscribe. I just care that you have fun. And let's go find this fucking thing. All right, guys. I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of music. This is from David Kramer's son's band, We the Generation, and this is the song, The Edge. Enjoy. Nice. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. We will catch you all on the flip side. Have a good night.